What did I come in here for? Oh yes, we're doing that podcast thingy. Okay, right, I'm Jan.
I'm Sharon.
And we're menopausal friends living here in France, and we plan to share with you our lives,
Loves.
and laughter, as the saying goes.
There's always lots of that.
We'll be discussing many subjects and also just being us. Enjoy!
Woohoo!
Hello everybody, welcome to this week's podcast.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Again, we probably said that in the last one, but because
Have we done one since the New Year?
We have. That was today that went up.
I won't say Happy New Year then. Probably everyone's getting really depressed again now.
Yeah, I think I on my videos and everything I've said it so many times. Hopefully people remember.
I got a feeling there's a day, isn't there, in January, which is the most depressing day of the year.
There is.
I think it's still in January, where people have got no money and it's not payday yet. It's obviously very cold. They've broken some of their New Year's resolutions.
Oh, I see. We should have looked that up, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
What day that is, I wonder.
Well, you keep going, I'll look it up.
Sharon's going to Google that date. Anyway, so again, hopefully you've had a nice New Year and everything. January is horrible. I always hate having a January birthday. Because whenever we used to have parties, I was always worried that no one would turn up because very often it would snow. But strangely enough, in recent years it hasn't. It's just this year it decided it was going to snow. But if I was having a party, it wouldn't be stopping anybody, I don't think, at the moment, because it's not settled. No, it's not still there. But it is very cold. We're in the minuses anyway. So the fire has been going most of the time in the attempt, because that's our only heat really, is the wood fire. So you've got radiators, but but we don't use them. Living with an electrician, you start to you find out that no, we're not putting that on because that's going to cost a lot of money.
Yes,
but we're grown up, we can wrap up in layers. So.
I do try not to put them on, but I will put them on if I have to.
But it's down to the setup of the house as well, doesn't it, and how your house holds the heat.
It doesn't.
And it doesn't very well at the moment, no.
No.
So what was this date?
Blue Monday is the name given to a day in January, typically the third Monday of the month.
So it's next Monday?
Yeah, it's the most depressing day of the year.
Oh, right. Well, we'll have to make an attempt not to let that happen.
Which is probably next Monday.
Yeah, so that's the 15th. 15th of January.
Would that be the third Monday?
Oh, that's a good point.
Let's have a look.
Have a look at the calendar.
Yes, because the first Monday was actually the 1st of January.
Yeah.
So the 15th this year.
So everybody thinking about it, this is going to be going up the week after that, the Friday after that.
Yes.
So let us know in the comments if you had a Blue Monday.
Yes, and hope you've recovered sufficiently.
Yeah. So your week this week, has it been a busy one, or you not?
Not particularly. I had our friend Julie staying. For a couple of
again,
nights.
I think she stayed on another podcast we were talking about that.
Yeah, because she was working locally. The worst thing about Julie staying is Julie has finished Netflix. Because she watches so much of it. So finding something to watch in the evening takes us ages. So yeah, she stayed for 2 nights, that was okay. My young cat, Marco, who's just over a year old, was an absolute pest. Because he didn't want to go out because it was so cold. So it
wasn't because Julie was staying, it was someone to, act up to, like the kids do.
Well, no, it just meant he disturbed 2 people's night's sleep rather than just one.
Yeah.
But he was bored in the night, so he was attacking Izzy, my older cat.
Poor Izzy.
Yeah, and eventually Julie got up about 5-6 o'clock and threw him out.
It's good that she does, though, because she could just sit and suffer quietly, couldn't she?
Yes, yeah, but she doesn't, so we did go out for a little while, but he's got too much energy if he's in all night. But, yeah, and I went back to French yesterday.
Oh, yes.
Which was good.
That go? Yeah.
Which was good. We were doing...
As in French lessons, she's saying?
Yes, back to French language lessons.
Yeah.
I was quite pleased. I put together a long sentence and it was all
right.
right.
What was that sentence?
I have no idea. But I was impressed with myself, and Carol, our teacher, was impressed as well.
Oh, so you pat yourself on the back then?
I did pat myself on the back. We were doing familiar commands. So using tu rather than vu. But as if you're talking to a good friend. So if you were talking to a good friend, you wouldn't go, "You need to do that immediately." You'd go and do it. Yeah, all of mine, you had a person, and then it would say something like, I had one where Marcel wants to have a second child, but his wife doesn't. And I had to give him advice.
Oh, right. God,
So-
that sounds a bit heavy.
So I was like, divorce her, get another wife, that sort of thing.
Oh.
So,
So we wouldn't
yeah.
want you to be a marriage counsellor,
No,
then,
that's
would we?
what they said,
No.
because there was 3 or 4 where I just said either divorce them
Tell you're not married anymore. Yeah.
until I live on my own.
Yeah.
But no, it was good. My French classes are good fun. It's a nice group of people.
Carol makes it fun anyway. She's just really good.
She is. I will say Marcus, who's in our group, hello Marcus, I don't think he listens, said, "Oh, I'm going to bring something for you next week." And it was because...
What, to you?
Yes, because on Facebook we'd had a discussion around clackers
Yes.
on our 70s toys.
Yeah.
And his wife has got a set of clackers.
No.
So he said he's going to bring him to the French class next week and we're going to have a go.
Oh, a few bruised knuckles probably, yeah.
So yes, he was like, "Oh, I was thinking of you the other day. Carol found her clackers."
Wow, I'm surprised she's still got them.
Yeah.
People do hang on to these things, and then sometimes it pays off to do that, doesn't it?
Yes.
I
So
was like a few of the
I might be
pictures
playing
on
with-
that group, they've been digging out their cupboards or their drawers and finding all that old stuff. Now, I got rid of all that ages ago.
I'm not a hoarder in that sense, you know. I do think if people have lived in the same house,
I was just going to say, yeah, if you live in the same house, it probably just stays there. But if
Yes.
you move, then it must. Every time you move, you have a good clear out, don't you? Yeah, I think that's probably what it
Definitely.
is.
definitely.
There's a few things I've hung on to, but I can't tell you what they are. It's only when we're going through stuff that I'll find it and think, "Oh, forgot I had that." And then you end up thinking, "Why did I hang on to it?" I don't even look at
Yes,
it.
I don't know. I haven't got a lot from my kids' childhood. I think when we cleared out the loft when we moved from the family house,
Yeah.
a lot of it went then.
Yeah.
Well, I have kept 2 teddies.
Have you?
Yeah.
Well, I think I touched on this probably on the first podcast, not
The
speak.
first podcast.
Yes. Then we saved the doll when my mum died, and we found my doll. I say my doll, I think me and my sister probably shared it, which just we had to do most things. So that's still around, and I think now I'm not sure which of the granddaughters has got it. So it's quite nice.
Yeah,
But that's the only thing I can think of that's still
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. People
There
do
might be
hang on
more.
to these things, don't they?
Definitely. So yeah, so that was, you went French, and then
Yeah.
that was yesterday.
Yeah,
So now we're here
yeah.
Friday again. Because it's been so cold, we've not really gone anywhere.
No.
I don't think we've even been shopping this week, have we?
No.
No.
No, I think we both had a kind of store up the week before, just in case the weather was worse.
Yeah, I just wanted to stay in the warm.
You did come round, didn't you? When was
Yeah, that's
that,
right.
Wednesday?
I did come round. That was yesterday, wasn't it? No. That was a good point. Must have been Wednesday then, mustn't it? Doesn't
Yes.
seem that long ago. So we went round and I was helping you with your coup,
Yes,
the cow that you're making.
I'm constructing a Highland cow at the moment.
So there's a knitted Highland coup, as they call them.
A Highland cow.
And you was having trouble putting it together, so
Yes.
wanted a second set of eyes, really, isn't it, to understand how to put it together.
Yes, I made a wonky donkey
Mm.
before Christmas, and he was wonky.
Things weren't.
I don't think they
Positioned
were in the
quite
right
right.
place.
Max loved it anyway, didn't she?
She did, because it was wonky, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm now doing a Highland cow. I couldn't work out it all. You knit it all in bits, so I've knitted like 4 legs, a couple of horns, 2 ears,
Yeah.
and the head and the muzzle. I couldn't work out which way round they went to attach them to the body, could I?
No.
And I think because you make things sewing wise,
Sometimes
you had
it
a
clicks,
different
Yeah.
set of eyes, and you could see how it should be. I'm moving my hands around a lot here.
Yeah. They can't see that,
They
Sharon.
can't, but I am constructing the cow.
She's demonstrating, believe it or not. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was very helpful. So he's now got a head, a body, and his little snouty thing, hasn't he?
Does he have a tail? Have you got?
I think I've got to make a towel, and I've
right.
got to make a loopy.
like a loopy fringe almost,
yes,
isn't
on
it?
his head.
Yeah.
But the other
Saying
bits,
that, they're not generally. They're just long fringes, aren't they? I didn't think they were curly.
I think it depends on the
Highland
cow.
Yeah. I don't know whether he's been down to the hairdressers or not.
Yes, whether he's had a perm. Yes.
Right, so not an awful lot's happened for me. I've only just basically spent a lot of time here in the loft and been sort of making. Well, yesterday I made a video putting my new mannequin together, so I was talking about that.
What have we named her?
Well, I think I'm gonna, because she's called a prima donna, so I think I'm gonna make her a donna.
I like the idea of.
She's got to have a donna.
And you won't say mannequin, you'll just say, I was...
I'm going to use Donna.
I was putting something around Donna's boobs this morning.
Yeah.
In future.
Now, me and Donna are going to become friends, hopefully. I can...
Yes.
I've hung a shirt on her already, because I've been meaning to convert some men's shirts, or upcycle some men's shirts for a while. So, yeah, I think I'm going to have a go at that. Because it's easier then to put it on there, and then stand back and look, and just see if it... Rather than try putting it on me... And then I've got to keep going downstairs to the mirror, have a look, pin it. Whereas there, I can just put it on there.
Yep.
I've measured it and it's exactly my measurements. So I'm so thrilled to bits that I've got a mannequin that's in my size.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Very good.
I think if I hadn't lost weight, I probably wouldn't have got one that I could work on, to be honest. But
I think they would be, like most things, if it's a bigger size, they tend to be more expensive, don't they?
yeah, well, I mean, I was lucky I got that one. I think it was 199. We thought we were going to find one at 165 from what we saw online. And now thinking about it, I wonder if it was 165 if you bought it online, because sometimes they are. But we decided we might as well go to the shop. So, but when we got there was, I think, 3 or 4 different ones, and one of them was 400.
Yeah.
And they're not made of the amazing materials. But
No.
anyway. Again, we've gone off on a tangent.
Of course we have.
Yeah, so mainly I've been staying here. Because we're not going out for walks, and our Keep Fit class doesn't start till the 25th. So I've been trying to get on my exercise bike. I've done 3 days of 30 minutes, which I'm quite
Very
pleased with myself. Today was the first time I've weighed myself since before Christmas, and I'm thankfully only put on 1 kilogram. So that's good. Although saying that, I probably did put on more than that, but because I got back to trying to be good, I'll probably have lost it again.
Yes,
so.
yeah.
But yeah.
Well, it's hard, especially
It is
this time of
hard.
year.
I say, yeah, when it's cold, and trying to... You want comfort food in the winter, don't you? That's the trouble.
And your body needs energy to keep you warm.
Yeah.
So it craves carbs, really.
And I don't know about you, but I find, especially this year, I've been really tired. I think the cold must... I used to think, it's because you always shivering and you wear yourself out, but can't say I've really shivered.
No.
But there must be something that makes you more tired, because every night we've had dinner, we're sat, just digesting it while we're watching TV, and I doze off every night. I might only doze off for 10 minutes, but...
Your body using more energy.
Yeah.
To keep you warm. I don't know. We're no scientists.
You're probably right, actually, thinking about that. Yeah. Yeah. So that's mainly it, but other than that, I've not done an awful lot, I don't think. I tried to do a bit of... I was talking about slow sewing, wasn't I, last
Slow
time?
stitching,
And Renee asking, what is slow sewing? Is it embroidery and something like that? Which really it is, yes. And I don't know why they've suddenly called it slow sewing. Apart from the fact it's therapeutic and you can just sit and do it slowly while you're doing something else. And I think... And it is, I do find it very therapeutic doing any embroidery or
it's
sewing.
Mindful, isn't it?
It is mindful is the word. Yeah. So I like to do that.
I do most things slowly.
And Renee said she tried to look up. Do everything slowly. Renee said she did try to look up what did we say it was called? Shishiko or something like that, stitching?
Oh, the Japanese one.
She was trying to understand the spelling from what we'd said and couldn't find it.
Oh, right.
But I'm sure if you put...
no idea.
Renee, I'm sure if you put S-A-S-H, I'm sure it would come up. Put sash stitch or something and it would come up.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Renee, it's S-A-S-H-I-K-O.
Yeah. Sashiko. Yeah.
Sashiko.
So yeah, no, they're all lovely things to sit and just and do, but I must admit I've struggled doing my slow sewing because the fabric and that I'm going through at the minute, I'm using a very, it's a cotton wool, but it's quite thick, so I still need a big-eyed needle, and I struggle. It takes me 5 minutes sometimes to thread it again, and it drives me mad because my shoulders are tense and I'm hunched over trying to thread it, and I end up with chronic neck ache. So yeah, I need if anybody knows where to get large-eyed sharp needles, I'd love to know. Okay, so what about this week's dreams? Any dreams?
I did have a very complicated one. I was working for the Ugandan embassy.
Oh right, okay.
But it was in Blackheath Village.
Right.
Which is in southeast London.
Which is near, it's quite away from where we lived, but we weren't too far from there originally.
My first Saturday job was in Blackheath Village. Yeah. And it got blown up, the embassy.
Right. And you were still in it, or?
Yes.
Right.
I will say that I have been listening to Seconds from Disaster on YouTube.
Before you go to sleep?
Yes.
Right.
And it may have been influenced by that.
Oh my God.
But I ended up with a piece of plastic over my head, like a yoke.
What, like they do for the dogs, like with a collar?
Yes,
sort of thing.
It's a bit like that. Yeah, Jan's face. Yeah, my boss was injured, whoever my boss was in the embassy, but we weren't allowed to leave the area, so we couldn't get any help or anything. So we all had some chocolate from a local shop and sat around.
Oh, that's always a cure.
Sharing that instead.
Right, okay.
And then, this was the bit, it was solved. Now, I don't know what was being solved, whether it was the mystery of who blew up the embassy. We had to locate a mystical creature who drove a left-hand drive car.
A mystical creature?
Yes.
Huh?
But it was
Are we talking like alien, or just...
I don't even remember. I just remember.
You just remember them being mystical?
Yeah, it was kind of, you need to find the mystical creature to solve
And what night was this dream?
This was apparently on the 12th of... Or is that today, the 12th of January?
Today's the 12th, yeah.
Oh, right. No, it was a few days ago.
So it might have been the day we were talking about whether you could bring chocolate over from the UK or not.
Well, it could be.
It could have been
These
that,
things all get... all get into my dreams, don't they?
Yeah.
As I say, Blackheath Village, that might have been a past memory because that's where my first Saturday job was.
Yeah. It's funny how those sort of things come up years and years later, isn't it, as well?
Yeah. I am in Blackheath Village quite often.
Yeah. So is that your only dream this week?
I was at the seaside last night.
Oh, that's nice.
On holiday. But I had 3 children with me. I don't know if they were my children or if they were brothers or supposed to be my brothers and sisters. But then I said to them, stay there. Yeah. And then I went off, but then I got lost in this hotel and in the I was in and out of the toilets, and then some kind of spa treatment room, and then
at the end of the toilets,
yeah. And then round, and there was a cabaret, and then by the time I got back round, children were gone.
You lost the children?
I did lose the children. But it was quite complicated. I don't know what this building was. Yeah, but it was a very old. It wasn't like a modern hotel. It was very old. It was very much dark wood and red walls, and like a 70s.
Yeah, sounds like it. 70s
hotel.
Era.
Yeah, but that wasn't influenced by what I was listening to last night. I don't think. I think I was on Forensic Files. I've gone quiet again. I keep being told off because was it Renee who?
No, I think it's Liz and Vanessa both said it went quiet every now and then, yeah.
Say I'm quietly spoken, which I had no idea. But apparently I do just... I drift off a bit. And we did think perhaps I forget that I'm on a podcast and start talking quietly just for Jan.
Some of that was she's trying to be secretive, for me.
Just for Jan.
So it's if it does go quiet occasionally, it's just because Sharon's forgotten.
Yeah, and Jan's going to kick me under the table every time that happens.
I do try and alter it on the editing, but it doesn't always work. It complicates matters. Yeah. Oh, right. So, funny enough, you saying about dreams, we watched a Nicolas Cage film last night, and I can't remember what it's. Dream was in the title, but it was a weird film. He was a professor, and he's got a wife and kids, but he goes into a restaurant. He's already seen someone that used to be his ex-girlfriend at a theatre, and then he goes into this restaurant because he's arranged to meet this ex for a meal, and then the woman at the counter who's taking guiding people to their tables,
Right.
she says, "Don't I know you from somewhere?" And he's really baffled, and she gets, "No, I'm sure I know you from somewhere. I'm sure I do." Anyway, cutting a long story short, he keeps meeting people that he has appeared in their dreams.
Oh.
He doesn't know them from Adam, but it starts to spread. It's like he's giving off some weird vibes, and even majority of his students dream about him. One woman that he met, she'd had sex with him, and she basically wanted to have sex with him again, but it never didn't happen because his conscience, the fact that he's got a wife. And then it's almost like because he's got angry about this, because why am I in everybody's dreams? Everybody then had a nightmare about him, and he was trying to kill all of these in the dream. But the stupid thing about it is these people then take it out on him like he really did this, and you end up getting really wound up with this film because you're thinking it's not real, he didn't actually do it, and it's just I didn't like the ending either, but it was ended up splitting up with his wife because of it, and it's just awful.
Bizarre.
You think of the fact all he's done is appear in people's dreams, and they've taken it as real. Absolutely bizarre.
If I ever, because I've talked about this before, there are places I go to in my dreams which, as far as I know, I've never been to in real life. Like this ferry I go on.
Yeah.
If I ever saw that in real life, I think that would really freak me out.
Yeah. Well, the woman at the start of that film said, "Oh, it must be a bit of deja vu or something," But yeah, I did say this to Dunk because I said, "Well, we've said about how funny and weird it would be if you actually found you were going somewhere in your dreams," and it's almost like in that film, it's like he'd been somewhere, actually gone to all these people and tried to kill them and things like that. And in the end, he even has a dream of himself doing that to someone, and that's when it freaks him out, saying that's why people are so freaked out, because it's so real.
Well,
so you have to watch that. When I find the title of it, I will let you know.
Yes.
Anyway, on to today's subject. I don't think we had anything else to cover, did we?
I don't think so.
We just thought we'd talk about recycling and upcycling. I did actually, thinking about it, I did look up what each of them meant, because with my other channel, I'd get confused and start thinking, actually, am I recycling or am I upcycling? And I can't even find it now. Oh, basically, I've got screenshots of it. Let me find the screenshots to actually determine. Right, an upcycle, it's reuse discarded objects or material in such a way as to create a product of higher quality or value than the original. Like it says, the opportunity to upcycle trash or turn it into new products.
Okay.
And the recycle is to convert waste into reusable material, and it says like car hulks. I don't know what are car hulks.
It's like the Hulk.
Yeah, were recycled into new steel. That sort of thing.
Okay.
And then underneath it's got return it material to a previous stage in a cyclic process. Like the amino acids are recycled in the synthesis of other proteins. That is above me. I don't even know what I've just read. And the other one is, it says use again. He reserves the right to recycle his own text. So it could be used in different ways.
Again.
So that's why I ended up changing my channel to upcycle, because I'm making it into something
else rather than... See, to me, recycling can just mean using it again. So I'm not necessarily... Like, I will try and... If I've got single-use plastic bags, I will try to use them 2 or 3 times. So to me... Well, what am I doing now? Am I just prolonging the life of something? I don't know.
Well, the same when they just say it's converted into reusable material.
Simple.
But it's so close, isn't it?
Yeah.
The meaning is so close.
Well, because silly thing, like if I get a plastic bag, like the bag that my frozen peas come in, I will then use that bag for something else before I throw it away. So as far as I'm concerned,
Yes.
I've made a single-use plastic into a two-use plastic.
Yeah.
I know that's tiny, but it also means I haven't bought another plastic bag for the thing I used it for the second time. So, yeah.
I think there's one thing with I know we can't do it now because they've now stopped the plastic carrier bags. But
Yes.
that's one thing I always used to, every time I had one, I would then try and use it in a bin or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that, to me, that's what you recycle. You're using it for a container again. I think that's what it means, isn't it? So, I mean, but then if my clothes that I've been taking in, am I recycling those because I'm using the same thing, just making it smaller? Which I suppose I am. Because I'm not making it into something else, am I?
No, but you're still I mean, for me that's the big thing. You're stopping that going into landfill.
Oh yeah.
So maybe years ago you would have gone, it's too big for me now. I'm not saying you would have, but a lot of people would.
Oh, I think I did in the past. I didn't.
Yeah.
I think in the past we didn't realise the effect we were having on the environment.
Oh yeah.
We just did it, and I can't help but think sometimes when people make things, when they were making it into plastic, because it is hard wearing and can be reused, did they think then the effect they were going to have on the environment when people didn't keep it forever and keep reusing it? They were throwing it, which is, when thinking out, why weren't we more educated about that?
Well, I mean, we were being advertised to that, you know, this is the space age, this is the new way, plastic is the future. Look, and there is still an argument to say plastic is far more lightweight than glass. It didn't break when you dropped it and all these things. So it was sold to us, wasn't it, as a miracle material.
Realistically, it's still, if you can reuse it and reuse it, you could say it was good for the environment because you're not throwing it away. It's just for the people that throw it. I mean, it's like the worst thing is we'll probably touch on it in a minute about the one-use plastic. That is what's bad.
Yes.
Really bad.
I mean, we're, you know, sitting in your craft room, surrounded by plastic. You know, you've got plastic boxes full of stuff, as have most people.
And some of that I have bought, but intend to keep forevermore.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? That's the thing. It's just to keep. I mean, if I had cardboard boxes, eventually they would break down or they would split. Whereas I know some of the plastic does because they sometimes make it so thin. But then also the reason we're surrounded by all this stuff is because I'm trying to recycle and upcycle stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I think yes. So it's single use, isn't it? And if you have plastic, make sure you have good use of it for as long as you can.
Well, you think before you throw it away. I do it all the time. If I put something in the recycling, I think, could I have done something else with that?
Yes.
I mean, that's just that shop we went to in Dinon. It was just fantastic because someone had been so inventive about recycling stuff, and admittedly a lot of it was probably leather and metal and something, quite a lot of plastic as well, but people were coming up with ideas to reuse, and that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
And we've just been talking about the policies in France and it was quite a education really, because I knew that France are putting more and more steps in and laws in place to reduce waste.
Yes, especially single-use plastic.
Yeah,
I think.
I mean, there's no particular order on these, but just facts that I've translated in a way that I could understand. That it says the anti-waste law in France requires every product to state where and what the materials are and what can be recycled. So it's got to state that on everything basically that's made, I suppose.
And I've seen some of that actually. It will sometimes say this product is made with 30% recycled plastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's this idea of virgin plastic, if you like. So we are still producing new plastic
Oh, really?
across the world, you know. We're still...
What, as in because they're recycling it from...
No.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
How ridiculous.
Well, absolutely, but new plastic is all the time being produced. So
I never realised that.
really, for us, it's can we use more and more plastic that's been used before?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. There's one that's called the Circular Economy Action. Basically is to have 60% plus recycled waste. So that's quite high, actually. That's
So
basically that's
reducing
what
the
they want,
things-
they're aiming at.
Yeah, reducing the things that we throw away that just go to landfill, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
France have reduced the amount of fruit and vegetables that are wrapped in plastic, but apparently there's 29 fruit and vegetables that are exempt. And I don't quite... Maybe I should have looked up to find out what these vegetables are, or maybe they haven't revealed that. But that's been going on apparently since 2022. One thing that they do say, one that they can't not wrap is basically what they're saying, is anything above 1.5 kilograms. And I'm a bit confused by that.
Yes.
Because, I mean, they could still, most of that, they could, like, have started to do, provide paper bags, haven't they?
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
we could all take the mesh bags and do it ourselves. And
Yes.
I've lost mine. I don't know where the hell they went.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't understand why they feel they have to do that above 1.5 kilogram.
Is it about transportation?
Probably. But you'd hope that they would find another way by not bring it
Yeah.
all in wooden crates. I know then it all comes down to the transport and the petrol the vans are using, and it makes it use more petrol because it's heavier.
It's not only
That's the
petrol,
sad-
though, Jane. I mean, I've started to try and only buy local. When I say local fruit and veg, I don't mean my area. I mean, can I buy something that was grown in France? Or
Yeah.
can I buy something that's grown in Europe? Because sometimes you pick up, like, oh, I'm doing so well, I'm putting 2 pears in a mesh bag.
Yeah.
And then you look, well, that pear has come from New Zealand.
Yeah.
That's been flown. Not that, just that one pear.
No.
Sitting on a little...
Sitting in a little box. I'm on a little journey.
But yeah, that
Yeah.
some things we eat have been transported by plane across the world.
And I'll tell you what is bizarre. I saw a map once of something, I think it was clothing, and it had been transported from France to another country for one process, to another country for another process.
Yes.
And that is ridiculous.
Yes. Yeah.
And then they'll, it'll be probably one of those cheap makes or something as well, which most of us buy, and you end up feeling really guilty. But anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, also the next point I've got is a law's been passed to stop grocery stores from throwing and intentionally spoiling food. So obviously this is where the, as they call it here, anti-Gatsby comes in, doesn't it?
Yeah,
in every
anti-waste,
supermarket there's a little chiller cabinet, maybe not even always a chiller cabinet, it might be another cabinet in somewhere else in the shop that have reduced it to get it sold and used rather than they throw it. So they're quite good at that, but obviously we don't know behind the scenes how much they're not doing that with.
Yes, yeah.
But it's an
That's an issue at
opportunity.
home as well, isn't it? About trying to use all our food in our houses and not waste. Because it's so easy sometimes to lose things at the back of cupboards, and then you look and it's out of date.
Yeah.
And you think, well, I don't want to diss Dunk, but he does love a clear out, doesn't he?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He hates it if it's out. See, I'm different on dates because my dad brought me up just saying it was all poppycock basically, the dates, and there is a certain amount where I would agree with him, and Dunk's the same. I would say certain things. I mean, like I had some baking powder. We bought it during COVID, and because we didn't know how long COVID was going to go on for, we bought quite a lot, and I don't use it that often. But that was Dunk being cautious. So, he wanted me to be able to bake if I was going to bake and not have to keep buying it. But then the other week he was having to clear it under the stairs, and he found it and he ended up throwing it because he said that's well out of date, which it was, because even though it's a powdered product, they usually last quite a while. But things like flours end up with mites in, don't they? And I think that's what he was worrying about. Yeah, generally, otherwise, we don't waste much at all. That's one thing. We were talking about it before we started recording. I do weigh out my food to get the right amount to cook, because if I just did it randomly, I think I'd end up with waste that way.
Yes, yeah.
Unless it was that much that I could save it for the next day, or something.
Yeah,
then
yeah.
that, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the other week actually, I'd made a soup, and then 2 days in a row, I did end up with a little bit of veg. I don't weigh my veg now. I have to sort of eyeball that, but it very rarely gets wasted. And this is an example: is I'd made a soup, vegetable soup. 2 days in a row, there was a little bit of veg left over, and I just threw that in with the rest of the veg, and it added to that soup. So I do that in that way. I do try not to just throw it. I wouldn't throw it in the bin.
No, I mean, we don't want to make people feel guilty if they're not doing these things.
No.
But, there are things you can do just to reduce your own wastage, isn't there?
And people don't necessarily always realise that they're even doing it.
No.
They are already doing this stuff as well. I mean, I think I can remember my mum and dad probably just threw stuff in the bin, but I just very rarely throw. I mean, that was one thing when we had the chickens, and you've got the benefit of the chickens. If there is anything left over that's not enough for another meal, the chickens will get it.
They will.
The chickens will eat it. Then you've got the chicken poo to go in your compost. So that's.
Yes.
I love all the thought of all of that.
Yes, yeah.
It's the chicken poo in the compost is really good.
Yeah.
And the same as with the ashes from the fire, isn't it? Put
Yes.
them on the compost or put them around the chickens. It all gets redone, and it's for a good reason.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it's. What's the next one? Oh, because that was the other thing regarding that. They now, if they've got any food left over, they must apparently send any leftover food to food banks and to basically the homeless to make sure that they get it. Which in a way you could say it sounds a bit insulting that they're getting the nearly gone off food. But I don't think they'd be able to give it to them if it was that bad. It might be near to date.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
if it's that or going hungry, then...
Yeah, I mean, if it can be processed into something like a soup or something, then they're probably just going to be really glad of it, aren't they?
Yeah.
Going back to this single-use thing, apparently because cling films and single-use plastic apparently is it's banned again, but I'm sure I've seen it still going on. And that comes down to this thing again, doesn't it? About what it is, whether they still have to wrap it or not.
Yeah. I try not to buy cling film. I don't buy, what do you call them, like freezer bags or things like that.
Yeah, see, I do. I'm guilty of that.
Well, it's not about being perfect, is it?
And I did buy paper bags from Amazon. I did buy paper bags, and they worked for a while. And I can't even think now why I didn't go back to them. Maybe I should do that. But there was a reason why I bought the Ziploc bags again. But I do try where I can. I can't do it if it's raw meat in it, and that. But if I'm making bread and I'm going to put some in the freezer, I do that. But I can rinse them, clean them, and reuse those.
Yes, yeah. Again, if you're turning single use into double use, that's better than just using single use. Yeah.
One thing I learned when doing this research was that France is a world leader apparently in sustainable initiatives, which is good to know as well. So,
we've talked about the going to McDonald's and Burger King now.
Yeah.
That if you eat in, you now have reusable plates and the thing you put your chips in and your cup and all that.
Yep.
All go back to be washed
Yep.
and used again. We're going back a few decades now, but that's good. So there's, for their takeaway, obviously they're still using cardboard and plastic and whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're eating in, then you're eating off of things that can be washed and reused, which has got to be
I wonder
good.
if their takeaway packaging is better than it was. I know, because it used to be a polystyrene thing for your burger, didn't it? I know it still is. I
think
don't
it's-
go there that often.
No, I think it's cardboard.
Yeah, so that's better.
Yeah.
And they used to have the waxy things for the chips, didn't they? Whereas
It's a
they
paper
could be in the
bag.
little
I
paper
think
bags.
it's a paper
So they've
bag.
improved on that as
Yeah,
well.
and there's no plastic straws.
No plastic straw
seem
now.
to have disappeared.
So what are they having now? I can't remember what
Paper straws.
Yes, and a lot of
Yeah.
people hate them, don't they? Because
do
they
go
do
soggy.
collapse. Mm,
You've got to drink quickly with a paper straw.
yeah, and kids will chew on it as well, wouldn't it? And that's not
I've
so
got
good.
glass straws. Not that I use straws very often at home, but I've got glass ones.
Do you know?
You can get bamboo
is it glass
as well.
I've got?
You can get bamboo now as well.
I can't remember if mine are glass or plastic, but when I use, they are reusable and they do clean up quite well in the dishwasher, so they do get reused. And they're saying, talking about McDonald's, that it's the catering and restaurant level where most of the waste is. And that's the thing, when you go in your McDonald's, well, that's what I was going to say actually. I wonder maybe if the listeners can let us know what they do if they're in a different country to us, what they do about that sort of thing in their McDonald's or their Burger King, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Have they adapted? Because when you leave, and you've got a bin for the like emballage, as to call it, packaging, and you've got another bin or wastage, which is the leftover Coke and that, and then there's another one. I can't remember if it's that leftover food. I can't remember now. But they try to get you to
separate it out.
Yeah, separate it out. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to go and see the back of some restaurants, see how much they end up throwing away. It's like we're going to go to the Chinese restaurant tonight. There's a buffet, and they do run out quick. Some trays do run out quickly, and I wonder if that's partly because they don't want to put too much out to start with, because they could end up with waste.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah. I remember, this was years ago. I can remember going to Yo Sushi, you know, where your Japanese food, your sushi
Go on a
food goes
table
on
thing, yeah.
goes on a, what's that called?
Like a Lazy Susan type thing, and it goes like a...
Conveyor belt.
Yes, that's the word.
I'm doing the action.
The action is her just going round and round, yeah.
And going to that for one of the kids' birthdays, and we were quite late in the afternoon, and then we watched as one of the employees came round with a bin bag, and just started tipping all this food straight in this bin, which had obviously they couldn't use it the next day, and the waste was horrendous.
Wow.
I mean, that was a few years ago. I'm sure. I don't want to again diss Yo Sushi because I don't
I wonder
know.
if it ends up going in the bin or whether it goes to animals.
Yeah, I don't know. And then what do they fit? Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind our backs, so to
Exactly.
speak, that we don't know the process of, do we? And we do take it as read, that, you know, oh, that's going there or that's going there. We don't know.
And there's going to be a certain amount of at management level that really don't care, even though they should, because all they're thinking of is the finance side of it. And it must be really hard for employees to do what they're told, just throw that out. I mean, it's like these, one early ones when I started watching YouTube was the people that go to the bins, basically, don't they? What's it called?
Like the Goodwill bins.
No, the rubbish. Like
dumpster diving.
Dumpster diving. And so many people go there, and it used to be shocking. It's not so much now because I've watched it so much, but the amount of stuff that was absolutely usable, absolutely could have gone to a charity, and it's just put in the bin, and then they take it out, and then they do that. They shouldn't be having to do that.
No, I think that's still an argument with some of these fast fashion companies like Shein and Temu and things. Well, Temu's not necessarily fashion, but where it's cheaper for the organisation just to either get you to not return things or then not do anything with the returns.
Yep.
Because by the time they've employed someone to undo the bag, sort the garment out, to resell, it's just, you know, the garments are so cheap.
Again, it comes down to the money instead. Yeah.
So they just dump it, you know.
It's terrible.
And
I think
it might
America's
not
supposed to be the worst, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we don't know a lot of what may happen in China or where a lot of these things
No,
are
this is true.
manufactured.
Yeah, no, actually, you're saying that.
Yeah.
I think I remember reading that recently. It's China or India. One of them was the worst.
But I mean, a lot of that. I mean, we're guilty, if you like, because we're consuming it.
Yeah.
And we're returning it in good faith, but then it's being dumped somewhere else. Is that any better? Do you know what I mean? Just because it's not in this country doesn't mean it's a good thing for the world.
Out of sight, out of mind, yeah.
I think fashion, to get back to fashion, I mean, that people talk about fast fashion now, don't they, where some sites just stick out new lines every 2 weeks or whatever. So I think fashions and clothing industry is the second biggest polluter in the world after, the oil industry.
When I think back, like shops like Primark, they knock it out so cheap, and I do.
I think Primark have improved a lot.
Have they?
Yes.
Because I used to buy so much from them, usually in the sale as usual, because I've always preferred a bargain. But when you're buying when you've got 4 children, you're going to go to somewhere like that to get it cheaper. And I don't think I, in those days, even thought really much of going to a charity shop. And usually because Primark sales were cheaper than the charity shops. And that's probably why.
Yeah.
But when I think back now, I do feel guilty. But I don't know if it was my ignorance or whether it just wasn't made that known back then.
I don't think
because I feel
it was
it's only been quite recent years that it's really obviously after the horses bolted almost, but I do feel it's just coming about now, and it should have been a long time ago.
Absolutely.
Or even thought about when it was invented, that the long-term effects maybe
of plastics. And we haven't even talked about plastics in our clothing.
No.
Which is awful and very difficult, or I would say impossible to avoid. Because
polyester cotton's got...
Well, polyester is a plastic.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of others now. What's the one that holds your belly in?
Oh, the Lycra.
Lycra is plastic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you buy pure cotton or pure linen, which we don't all the time.
No. Instead of Lycra, we should go back to the... stays and girdles that you used to have back in the day.
Girdles, yeah.
Well, they did up to the 50s, didn't they? Used to do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Why did it change? I know it's simpler, easier to put on. Yeah,
feels
lightweight.
Nicer. I mean, I can remember knitting an all wool jumper for one of my kids, who then went, "Oh, it's too itchy." Never wore it. So we all wear and use plastic fabrics.
Yeah.
And there's very little. I think that's something we can't go back on now. I think we'd find it almost impossible.
Yeah. And I like some of it because it's softer, like what I'm wearing
Absolutely.
at the minute. This is probably, I don't know what it's made of actually. I should have looked at the label.
We start looking at a label.
Yeah, I think it's, I can't even see a label on this. They probably didn't put one on it because of what it is. But very often it's polyester, and it's very often soft because it's easy
wool.
to wash.
Yep.
If you go for pure wool or cashmere, it's expensive. You've got to be careful how you wash it. And we've just all gone down the path of easy. And that's sad.
Oh, acrylic, that's another one. That's plastic, isn't it?
Acrylic, yeah.
I'm just looking at I'm wearing a new jumper.
Yeah, she's just bought a new jumper and she's already in the guilty
boat.
Yeah.
From Sainsbury's. This is 60% polyester, 20% recycled polyester. So that's good. And 6% polyester, 20, it's very small writing, 20 something recycled polyester, and then 5% acrylic. That doesn't add up to 100. And it's also, I bought it in England, but it's made in Bangladesh. So.
Well, that's the thing. And then we've only got their word for that. I know there's laws and they can't put it on there unless it's fact. But you can't help but think some of these manufacturers, can you trust them? It's horrible to have to think like that, but you just get proven that way all the time.
I think all we can do, we're not all going to knit in pure fabrics or construct in pure fabrics. I think what we can do is just get as much wear out of our garments as we can if we buy them new.
Yeah.
Or buy second hand, so that's not gone. It's not virgin plastic.
No, it's our contribution in a way, isn't it? I do, it's unavoidable in some ways, some of these things, but unless you've got a lot of money and you can. See, that's the thing we were going back to. We was just discussing about the fact if you're going to go green, very often to go green, you've got to be able to have the money, because it's often more expensive.
It is often more expensive.
And they're not encouraging people to be green, are they? If they make it expensive.
Well, people can't afford sometimes. I mean, like I buy solid soap and I also buy shampoo bars, so I don't have plastic shampoo in a plastic bottle or anything like that, or shower gel and things like that. But that is more expensive than buying a shower gel.
Yeah.
And if you've got very little money, you are going to buy your cheapest option, aren't you? You
exactly.
know. So I mean,
you
that
still want to be
can
clean,
difficult.
so you're not going to
Yeah.
not be clean. You've got to do it somehow.
And even things like, I like to buy the yogurts in the glass pots instead of plastic pots.
Yeah,
Again,
same here.
they're far more expensive than the plastic ones.
Yeah.
So it's
Those glass
difficult.
pots are reusable. I mean, depends on how much you want to store, but you can, reuse them. You can have those little wax, the wax beeswax coverings.
Yes.
You can get all different sizes of those. You can use them over the pots in the fridge and things.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it does take a lot more thought.
It does take more thought.
But some people are just, it's just difficult, What else have I got here? This is the word, it's P10. I had to get Sharon to look the word up, but it's polyethylene. No.
Polyethylene.
Polyethylene that.
Terry's a philanderer, yeah. I couldn't pronounce it.
Anyway, that's packaging.
It's a
and it's recycled into textiles, fibres, bottles, and basically, and they can make it into sheets to make it into new trays. So another.
I think PET plastic is like our bottles of water. If you buy that, then that's PET, I think.
Oh, is it? Let's have a look on my bottle.
I mean, I've bought a couple of things recently. My giant raincoat poncho, which I love, is made from recycled plastic. And I've got a rucksack, didn't I, which was specifically made from recycled plastic bottles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It says here this bottle's always entirely recyclable. Doesn't say it's been recycled.
That can go in the recycling bin.
Yes.
But it may still be virgin plastic.
Yeah.
But the thing is, plastic, of course you can reuse it, but it's really difficult to reuse. Well, I say really difficult. If they reuse that plastic bottle to make another plastic bottle, it won't be clear.
No.
And that's something apparently people don't like. People like to be able to see what's in the bottle.
Yeah, but if they realise why.
Yeah.
It's loads of comments on this bottle about it being, the bottle and the lid are all entirely recyclable, and they really trying to make a big thing of it and saying it's a winner, it's good and all that.
Are you being greenwashed, Jan?
Exactly. This is the other thing I didn't even learn of this word till last night.
Yeah.
And I said to Duncan, do you know it? And he said he knew it, but I didn't. And some of you may know what this greenwashing is. I mean, what's the interpretation of it?
Basically, it's a lot of products now are a lot of manufacturers are putting a lot of money into persuading us that an article product is more green than in reality it is. So they will use words that make us think it's more green, or even
Which
colours.
goes back to what I just said on that label. How do we know they're telling the truth?
It's not about not telling the truth necessarily. It's about saying things that... I'm trying to think of an example. If you buy something that's in green packaging that has country scenes and leaves and plants on it...
Right, being misled.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're not saying this product is better for the environment, but that's the implication, that's the inference.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
So, and they do that a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it will say all natural. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
All
and
natural
sometimes
might
it's
be...
in a packaging with because it's brown and looks like paper and everything, even though it might not. That's another misleading thing, isn't it? Because it makes you think, oh, that must be natural.
Yeah. And cardboard things, sometimes I buy things in cardboard. I was buying. See, my son always is on top of this, so he says I do something called wish cycling, which is I put things in hoping it's going to get recycled.
Yeah.
If it doesn't. Like I
think
was buying...
I'm guilty of that as well.
because we don't know.
Because I'm still confused sometimes what I put in my recycling box and what I just put in my normal bin.
Yeah.
Because apparently now, because it was quite a recent thing, that France would basically, there's a lot more now that they're saying you cannot put in your normal bin. But then it got to a point where you thought, well, what do we do with it? It's like food waste. They're now saying you can't put that in your normal bin. But if it can't go on the compost because it's cooked, where does it go?
Well, it still goes in my normal bin. Yeah.
And the only thing, if I knew they were taking it was going to go to the pigs to feed and things like that, I wouldn't feel so bad. But I didn't, like I just said though, we don't have a lot of waste. But it's just made me think, you know, for other people that they do end up with the waste for one reason or another. What the hell do we do?
Well, I was saying about cardboard. You think, cardboard's recyclable, but I used to buy soap in a box, cardboard box, but it's got a plastic film on the top, which stops it being recycled. So I do try and peel it off. But,
Or like it'll have that coating on the inside so that it doesn't soak through the cardboard, which you can understand why they've done it.
Yes.
But maybe they need to make that of a different thing that breaks down easy.
Yeah. We were talking about packaging peanuts as well, weren't we? Which is polystyrene.
Yes, we were.
Which is that filling in your packaging.
Yep.
I think they're just called peanuts because they're like peanut shaped, aren't they?
Yeah.
Little polystyrene bits to, And I like shopping
popcorn, that's the other word I was trying to think of. It
okay.
reminds me of popcorn. Anyway, yes.
I shop in Lush, which I don't know if that's just a European thing or they're in America. Know. Tell us, Americans.
Well, Lush is a soap shop, basically, isn't it? And toiletries.
Toiletries, yeah. Very highly smelling.
Yeah, you soon know it's in a shopping centre, don't you?
As you walk towards it, yeah. A lot of people get headaches in Lush.
Do they? They are very highly perfumed, but I assume that's natural perfume. I don't know what's.
But they're packaging free, aren't they? Or they're it comes in paper, or it comes without anything. I forgot why I'm mentioning this now. Oh right, the peanuts.
Yeah. Yes.
So I've had stuff sent to me. I don't think I've ordered anything myself. I think because Fee often orders me Lush things, and they arrive here. Yeah. And they use these dissolvable packaging peanuts, and I think they're made of like corn or cornstarch.
Oh right. Yeah.
And it's great fun. You put them in the sink and then
just watch them fizz away.
Yes. So there are ways of doing it.
Yeah, they just need to do it, and whether that costs the manufacturer more or not, I don't know. Because as we're saying, anything that's green is costing more money.
Well, I love
and
bath
it puts people
bombs.
off.
As you know, I love a bath bomb.
Yeah.
But I can buy 4 bath bombs in a shop like Action for the price of one Lush bath bomb. Yeah. And quite often, even if the bath bombs are like packaged in like 3 in a cardboard box.
The ones I got you weren't they?
But they're individually plastic wrapped inside.
I know. Yeah, I know.
It's so difficult. Oh, that's one of my bugbears with French packaging is bloody biscuits.
Biscuits, yeah. The French seem to do this thing. I think I've mentioned it on a video at one point, but they do this thing about you get a pack of biscuits and there'll be 12 biscuits in it, and you'll have 3 biscuits wrapped in plastic, and there'll be like 4 packets. Never really understand. The only conclusion I could come to was that they were ready wrapped for parents to put in the child's packed lunch. But as I've learnt since, apparently the packed lunches aren't allowed. So if that's the case, that's not why.
Oh, they don't do packed lunches in French schools?
If they want packed lunch, they apparently have to be picked up and go home for their lunch.
Oh, right, okay.
Now, when I did that interview with Linda, McCrimey Linda, when her children were at school, she said they had to have lunch, like 3 or 4 courses of dinner at school, otherwise or be picked up and taken home for lunch. And she said it worked really well with her kids because it made them eat things they wouldn't normally eat, and they were eating better. So so I don't know. Is it down to then adults taking packed lunch to work, because I thought that was a thing that didn't happen that often either. Usually work people go out to a restaurant or to a verge or something as well.
Yeah, because
so really there's no excuse.
Why there is no excuse.
But then if they were going to put these biscuits in a box, they would still be in a film, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
And it would probably be just as much packaging.
Yeah, would it be just as much packaging?
Because you think it's still the same amount of biscuits to be covered, because they couldn't just leave them in a cardboard box, because they would go off in no time, wouldn't they?
This is the other thing about what we do, is we lengthen the expiry. That's not the right way to say it. We preserve food for longer now. Again, because it comes from the other side of the world sometimes. Yep. So, you know, wrapping things is often a way of preserving, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we've lost the ability to preserve naturally or at home, or I don't know.
But before all of this stuff had to come from abroad, everything was made in the country you lived in. Well, why can't they just go back to that?
World economy, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, when you'll probably remember the same. We used to have a shop in Welling, and there was probably another one. Even Woolworths, had counters where you scoop like you can now.
Pick and mix
type thing. And for biscuits as well. You could get a scoop, get your paper bag, and just, help yourself. Obviously not free, but you know what I mean, serve yourself.
Yes.
So that is on the increase. I mean, some of the supermarkets got rows now of this stuff, haven't they?
Yes,
but
again, packaging.
Again, they've not packaged it, but you're paying more money for it.
Yes.
Makes no sense. You can, if it's packaged, you can understand why they're charging you more, because you're paying for the packaging. There is no. I don't get it.
No, but it's cheaper because. So I mean, say you bought a packet of peanuts in a plastic bag, then those peanuts have probably come halfway across the world. They can be preserved for longer in that plastic packaging. They can be transported cheaply because the packaging is lightweight. This is the difficulty you get into. Yeah. It's like me trying to buy things in glass, which I do, but then people say, well, glass isn't necessarily the answer because it costs more money to transport it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier, the heavier thing,
I think we've raised more questions than we answered.
Yeah, but they always, if anybody can answer this, let us know. But they've always, years ago, like your milk was always in a glass bottle.
Which was collected, that's the thing as
well.
Yeah,
that was collected. And I think it's a shame that you can't go back to that.
I think some countries have. I think Scandinavian countries and maybe Holland are very good at that, in that they now have machines where you can pop your glass bottle back and get a couple of cents back, which is what it was like when we were a kid. You would have to take your pop bottles, your fizzy drink bottles.
Your fizzy drinks were glass as well.
Back to the shop.
Yeah.
It's like aluminium is very good for recycling. So again, I always try to buy a can of fizzy pop rather than a plastic bottle of fizzy pop.
Yeah.
It's not always possible. About my love for Diet Coke.
It's just making my just flashback in my head of going to bars or pubs and the working man's club with my dad and that, and it was always glass bottles then, and I think they still do, don't they? I'm sure pubs and that still have glass bottles. I don't think they serve up in a plastic bottle.
No, I'm just thinking where you do. I think some big venues don't like you having glass, because I don't know whether it's a health hazard if you're dropping it or things like that. So if you go to a gig, they wouldn't let you in with glass bottles. If you go to a football match, you wouldn't be allowed in with a glass bottle.
That's the trouble now, isn't it? You've got those people that are going to cause trouble, break it, cut someone.
But you do go to a lot of places now where you have one cup of recycled plastic that you maybe pay €1 for, and then you keep that and you keep going back and getting that refilled. Yeah. Rather than
some people that really bugs. I've heard someone talking about that recently. We generally obviously you've got no choice. You have to pay for that cup or not have a drink, don't you? But we very often try, if we can, to take it back again because we've got such a collection of them. I mean, they come handy for garden parties and stuff, but yeah, so it's, like you said, we're probably raising a lot of questions here. And that's the other thing. I've looked again at the list. We said about the France is a world leader in sustainable thing. And from what I could see, it says we're second in the EU for recycling and composting.
That's good.
So they are trying encouraging the composting a bit more. I know in the news and that recently I've read about.
I mean, we both compost, don't we?
Yeah, exactly.
So
and I love the fact that I'm composting. I've got 3 compost bins now in the garden.
I'm down to one again because the other one,
it collapsed, didn't it?
That was partly the chicken's fault, but yeah, it did
Chickens,
collapse.
yeah.
It's still in the garden, but
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to go and have a bit of lunch, and then we'll come back and talk about what we do for recycling. Back after lunch again. We thought this time we'd sort of touch on how we recycle and upcycle. We're not experts.
Nope.
But we try, and we're obviously doing our little bit. One thing we both do, or at least especially me, you didn't so much this year because of your knee operation, but is by growing our own. That's part of the sustainability, not so much the recycle and that, but
it's more about consuming differently, that, isn't it?
Yeah, which is obviously what we were sort of talking about. Yeah, I mean, a bunch of the weather's not been helping me grow. I've got stuff that's grown this year, but I've not done very well out of it. But you can try and all that, so that I feel like I'm doing my bit there. And anything that I don't eat that's still fresh goes back on my compost as well.
Yes, I mean growing your own. I mean, you grew. I think we both grew potatoes.
Yep, potatoes, celeriac. Well, anybody who watches the videos knows what I grow, and they probably remember more than I do. Beans, onions, tomatoes, strawberries, a few herbs. Oh, and a butternut wasn't too bad this year, not as good as I'd hoped, but it was better. So yeah, it just meant that I wasn't going to the shop and having to buy those particular items.
Yeah.
But at the moment they're frozen in the ground, the potatoes and that, because I haven't had a chance to try digging them up. Because it kept raining. It's not cold, it's raining.
Yeah.
So yeah. So, and like you're just saying, it means you're, what was the word you just used?
Consuming less.
Consuming less.
Yeah.
But that's as in buying less, you mean?
Yes.
Because I'm obviously not consuming that much.
You're consuming all of it if you get a chance.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Yeah, buying less, buying fewer things.
Being aware of what you're buying.
Yes, I mean that's really important.
Even just mine was just a lot of mine being aware of what I'm buying is just more to do with what I've cut out in my diet as well, so that's making me eat slightly healthier because of that. But
do both have a tendency still to wander around things like NOS?
Yep.
And pick up things that maybe our lives could have done without.
I was quite proud of myself last time. I only picked up, I think, 2 things. But normally when you come out of NOS, you fill your basket very often. But you do have to be careful in there because, it's going to be plastic or...
Some of it's going to be, yeah.
Or something that you really didn't need. I mean, this is something we say quite a lot, is to buy better. Don't pick up something just, it looks nice. Think twice. Think twice and think, do I actually need it? I mean, even food-wise, actually, I've had to be really good looking on the shelf and thinking, I do have to sort of think, have I got that at home to use up? But sometimes you need stuff to top up, don't you? It's hard. It's a hard thing, especially with memories like we've got.
Yes.
And you can't always remember what's in your cupboard. And you forget your list and leave it at home.
We talk about buying second hand, and we do go to Emmaus here, which is like a charity or a thrift shop.
Yeah.
Don't get as many in France as we're used to seeing in the UK.
No, I mean, in the UK...
Oh, I was in and out of charity shops at Christmas like nobody's business.
Yeah. You'll have a high street, and where all these shops have closed down, a charity shop has taken over.
Yeah.
We don't... I mean, like America have...
Thrift stores,
Goodwill and that, and they're purposely there Mind you, might have used to be in a shop, I don't know, but they have huge ones, don't they? Whereas we've lots of little ones for different charities.
Yes.
In the UK, but here it's similar to America. You've got the one big one, Emmaus, and some of the, what do you call it, the vide grenier shops, but they're not generally, I don't think they go to charity.
No.
But it's just for people to sell their stuff second hand.
Yes.
But again, it's still, you're giving something another life. You're not going and buying new, and that's what I'm really conscious of. I know occasionally you have no choice.
Yeah. I think we do get stuck for things here, living in a rural area, that some of the things we would want, I suppose, more fashionable things, or, you know, I don't particularly like big old French furniture and things like that.
No.
Where other areas might do better with buying second hand. So I wish I could get more, but I do struggle. I'm going to try and use Vinted or maybe one of the other apps.
Yeah, I've not actually, I've glanced at it, but I've not actually used it yet.
Which are pre-owned, if you put it that way. So, yeah.
I just think even if when you're in a second-hand shop, if you'd sometimes need to think, do I actually need it? I mean, I find myself picking up stuff if it's cheap because I think I could upcycle it to make it into something else. But even then, I still think, but do I actually need that done?
Yes.
You know, I've got stuff here that's been here for ages because it's there ready for when I may need it, but because I'm upcycling the clothes I've already got and existing, and I've been really pleased with myself recently that even things I didn't think I could upcycle, I have done. You know, so it gets to a point when you do it so often, you feel really guilty buying new. I think we really have to think twice. If I get that, will I wear it? And like I say, and if I want to upcycle it, most of the time I'll end up doing it just for my video, not for what I actually need. And then it's a waste.
That's a danger
it is
as
a waste,
well, isn't it? Yeah. Again, I don't mind still buying new if I'm going to get good wear out of it.
Yeah.
And
it's worth buying a good brand as well, I think.
Better quality.
And it's very often, if it's a better quality item, it may have come from a better source. As we were talking about, you said Primark's got better, but
it has. Primark,
some of the cheap ones, where has it come from? You know, and what's the background on it?
I think Primark in particular. I don't know if you have Primark outside of Europe.
Well, I think there is. Oh, outside Europe. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a cheap brand in the UK, and now there's a few in France as well.
But because it's known as a cheap shop.
Yes.
It's known in some parts of England as Primani, isn't it? Because they just want it to sound posher than it is.
I was trying to think of an American equivalent. I did earlier on it. It might come back to me.
It might be Target or something like that.
No, because that's more...
Walmart?
Walmart, that's what I was thinking of.
Walmart's equivalent to Asda, isn't it?
I think Walmart own Asda.
Ah. Yes, because it's on their labels, isn't it? You can see it on their labels, Walmart, yeah.
Anyway, Primark, I think, has done a lot in the last few years to improve its reputation about where it gets its fabrics. It does a lot of vegan products now. Certainly does paper bags for everything.
Where are they actually made? Are they still sent to somewhere like India or somewhere in a sweatshop?
I mean, I think you'd be surprised if you looked on your garments. I mean, we've just looked at this jumper and seen it was made in Bangladesh.
Bangladesh, yeah.
I mean, it'd be interesting to go through your labels.
Yeah.
See where it was made.
Because most of us don't look, do we?
No, we don't look.
Very, very conscientious.
No, we don't look. Yeah. But they've stopped doing that extremely cheap throwaway item, I think.
Oh, right.
In Primark, which has been taken over by some of those online sites.
Right.
I think, which are the...
like your Temus and your Sheins and
yes,
that.
yeah. So it is interesting. Again, I'm not going to stop buying things that have got acrylic and polyester in them.
To a point, if you need that item, you haven't got any choice. It's a case of that thing again about thinking twice.
Yes.
And you'd be surprised how much money you can save.
I think you have a lot more clothes than I do.
Oh yeah,
And
we've
I've
said
very
this
much-
before. No, I don't know why I've ended up. I think it's probably where I've been putting weight on, losing weight, and you end up buying the clothes and they just sit in the wardrobe.
Yes,
and,
yes.
Because I'm more conscious of. I don't want to throw everything out, and Duncan's the same, because he says to me, "Don't throw it out. You don't know if you might need it again."
Yeah, no, that's
Try
fine.
not to say to me, "You'll probably put weight on again." So I think that's what it is. But then
Yeah.
there are some things I put on and it just felt too big, which is why I started taking everything in. And I'm glad I did, because it's one of those sort of things I kept putting off because I thought it'd be too hard, but it wasn't really.
No.
I mean, and it saves if I'm upcycling. I'm not going out and buying fabric. I'm using what's around, and because I love to sew. And a lot of fabrics I've got now. I've got boxes with clothes that I've cut up, so I've got fabrics ready to do other things, and sheets, bedding, and stuff. That you see so many people making things out of bedding. But generally, a lot of the fabrics I've got are what I was given. So I have got new fabrics, but then they've cost me nothing. I haven't gone to a shop and got any. I'm giving that bit of fabric that someone else sat in their cupboard. It's now sitting in my cupboard, and hopefully I will make something of it.
Yeah.
That's my intentions. But
Yes. I mean, none of us are perfect. I'm saying I'm
No.
sitting here in a brand new jumper.
Mm.
You know, we all buy things without thinking about it, where they've come from.
Well, this poncho, I can't remember. Did you buy me this?
No.
I thought it was a present, but it's been in the cupboard for no. There's no tags.
Oh, right.
It's weird, but it's nice. It's a green poncho, listeners.
It's very nice.
Ridiculous that I'm having to wear it indoors, but that's how cold it is. Once upon a time I'd have probably thought, I'll use Duncan's clothes before he throws out and adapt them, but he's so much smaller than me. I'd have to add so much fabric into it to make it fit me.
Now we've done that as well, haven't we? A little bit, where we've made things bigger as well.
Yeah.
I did a couple of t-shirts where I combined two, didn't I?
Yeah, we put a panel in the
triangles
side.
in
Yeah,
the
I've done that.
sides.
It's just, it just makes sense. I think some people think, oh God, you're being really tight, or if you need bigger, just go and buy it. But that's the whole idea, isn't it? Don't go and buy. Make do with what you've got. And now I've got more of a conscience not to go and buy something new than I have of worrying about the fact that I've upcycled and made do, if you like.
Make do and mend.
Goes back to what, the 40s, something like that.
40s, yeah.
Yeah,
So
make do and
during
mend.
during the war, or maybe even the depression before the
Yeah.
war.
And it worked then, and it didn't bother anybody then. So
No, it was
why can't
during
we
the
be
war.
doing
It
it
was
again?
encouraged, wasn't it, to use materials that weren't being used for the war effort. So people did, and clothes swaps. as
Exactly.
well.
There's
They
a
did
few
that during
sites
the
of
war.
those here in France as clothes swaps. Yeah, I think it's something we all need to be mindful of. Is just to not buy as much. And there's a lot of videos out now showing you how to repair things and all that. So I know not everybody can do these things, but if you're of mind to want to take part, if you like, in being green, then it's worth learning. So,
Yes, yeah, or paying someone else to do it as well.
all that, yeah,
I mean,
helping to
my
give
son,
someone else a bit of money as well.
My son had a suit. I don't know if he bought the suit second hand or he had it a few years, and over time his shape has changed. He's since he's been cycling so much, he's thinner. So rather than do anything, he got it professionally taken in for him. So it's not something he thought he could do.
So he's providing someone with work.
Yes,
And
got a suit that fits him really well now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I definitely think it's on the increase. A lot of people are mindful now and are thinking of these. That's why so many second-hand things have popped up, haven't they? The second-hand sites, and I mean resellers they're making money because that's their living now, but they're giving stuff another life.
Yes.
They might have got it from charity shops, which is a bit controversial because people do say they're taking stuff away from the poor. I have to say some of the charities are charging so much that even the poor couldn't get them, which is a bit sad. And I think I watched a YouTuber the other day who said that I think they'd been accused of that. It's a difficult one because they might not buy it and then it'd be stuck in that shop forevermore,
There is I think that's happened in the UK as well, in that it's the definition of a charity shop. Is it to raise money for Save the Children or British Heart Foundation. Therefore, should the price be higher to raise more money for that charity?
Which is what they do, yeah.
Or is it to provide cheaper items for people who can't afford them?
No, you're right there, because I think it's always been thought of as the other way around. I'm thinking of a charity shop being a cheap shop for people that can't afford new, rather than thinking you're selling items, to raise money. Yeah, it's a good point.
Well, I think Emmaus is to provide cheap things for people who can't afford it, rather than... I don't think Emmaus, that money's going to a Emmaus charity.
Yeah, the founder. That's why you have that. You remember on the...
Oh, I remember the founder.
He set it up, and I think it was to provide work for...
Yes.
For people on the street as well.
Yeah.
People, homeless people, as well as raising money or giving the opportunity for people that can't afford to buy new.
History of Emmaus. There we go.
The same as thinking about Christmas and stuff. It's, if you can, it's nice to not worry about it and maybe make presents and use upcycled stuff, because I think...
Yes.
I mean, I know you, Sharon, you enjoy getting handmade and recycled products for Christmas, don't you?
We always try
I'm the same.
In my family, with my kids, we try to give at least one, maybe. I mean, we've had some Christmases where we've gone, right, only things you've made, or handmade things.
Yeah, and it's nice to do that as a theme. I mean, there's going to be still a lot of kids out there that won't even touch second hand, because that's the way they've been brought up. But I mean, I've said it before, I come from a fairly poorish background, so I haven't got a problem with it,
I think there was a stigma around it.
Yeah.
Rather than it's a good thing to do for the environment, it was, you can't afford to clothe your kids or whatever. So I think that's
it's
changed.
being seen in the shop, isn't it? Because who would know whether that was second hand what you're wearing? That's the thing.
I think we'd be really interested in our listeners' views.
Yeah, and what they do
Yeah.
up for upcycling and recycling.
Or what they think their country of where they live is doing.
Yeah,
what they
are they
could do
doing
more.
enough? Yeah. So I've, as anybody that's been watching a while knows my other channels, not many of you unfortunately, but I've got a room full of stuff that, and same as you have now as well, Sharon, haven't you, about stuff to upcycle and...
Yes.
And you remember as well, going back, talking about that and about Make, Do and Mend, how they used to undo jumpers for the wall and then knit them again, things like that, all that sort of thing. I think still sort of goes on.
It does.
And you've got to have the patience, because it can take a while to do. I can remember undoing a jumper, probably for my mum to do something. Yeah. And so even things like items for your kitchen, and you can always get them at charity shops, boot fairs, everywhere. I mean, let me go. I was just talking about, quickly run through the list actually of stuff that isn't recyclable, that you think there's things in the list that you can re-wear, like ceramics and kitchenware is, they say that's not recyclable, but it will be going around forever, won't it? If it's not broken.
Yes, it's got a long life.
It's got a long life.
But you're more likely to have a glass container for years rather than plastic bag for even 2 uses. You'd be quite pleased with yourself.
Yeah. It would have been interesting to have got the statistics actually, the things that how long they sit in landfill, because you remember one of my holiday videos, I was in a zoo and there was a little game there. We had to lift the flaps on, and each flap it said how long each thing took to break down.
Yes.
I should have remembered that, but I didn't.
Yeah.
It says windows and mirrors. Now, again, I suppose it's glass, isn't it? And
well, mirrors are glass with a coating on, so I imagine it's the coating that stops it from being
probably
recycled.
I mean, windows, people do try and buy second-hand windows where they can as well, don't they?
Yes, if you can get them fitted. Yeah.
Plastic wrap, obviously, is one we've already discussed.
Well, again, France has got, I think, particularly better at that, in that there are some plastic wraps, like round the plastic bottles, that can be recycled now, and that's a newish thing. What were we looking earlier on at? Plastic wrapping round your kitchen roll. which was made of cellulose.
Yep.
Which is a natural occurring
And it's funny because
material.
I'd heard that word but never really bothered to find out what it was. But that's obviously very organic, as you said, and that's a good thing to look for. Things like, I mean, Duncan, I mentioned this on my video yesterday actually, he's now started reselling lots of his bike parts and stuff, and he doesn't go out and buy new boxes and bubble wrap and everything. He uses what we've got in the house.
Yes.
So things like that, you know. Packing peanuts we've already touched on, and bubble wrap. Bubble wrap could be very good if it was whole and could be recycled, but none of us can resist popping the bubbles.
Yes.
But it's still a good packing. Wax boxes, now that's your juice, and fruit juice, some milks and that have wax inside, don't they?
Yes, but we can recycle our cartons here. Milk cartons.
Yeah, we can. I wonder why that is, and what's...
It may not be wax, it might be something that they can...
Well, the milk
down.
carton I just put in the bin, it had foil inside, but it didn't look like an aluminium foil. I don't know what that was made of. No. And one that's wax boxes, as say we were talking about, photographs was one I didn't even think about, because I suppose majority of us hang on to the photos anyway. We're not not tending to get rid of, but there are going to be people that are going to be clearing a house out and...
Well, I don't know if it's it's when I moved to France. I eventually went through all my photos and I had doubles and triples, especially as I'd inherited my nan's and then my mum's photo, especially of the kids, you know, the school photos, you give it to all the family, don't you?
Yeah.
So I did have doubles and triples then, and it wasn't until I did shred them, because I didn't want people to have photos of my kids, but I realised I couldn't put them in the paper.
Right.
Paper recycling.
Well, just talking about this has actually reminded me, I've seen recently that, and it makes sense now, talking about this, that they use photographs, and I don't know if you make it wet or what, but you can put like a sheet over, like a baking sheet or something over it, and print it onto a t-shirt. So that makes sense that there must be something in that photograph for it to adhere to the fabric.
Yeah, I think it's just the process of developing. Obviously they put it through a chemical process, don't they?
Yeah.
And the paper itself has got that shiny quality, and it's got printing ink on it, and it's all sorts of things that would stop it being able to be recycled back into pulp like you would with ordinary paper. So
because I hadn't thought about how that happened properly before, but now that does make sense. You can see why. Medical waste makes sense, why you wouldn't recycle that. Polystyrene and styrofoam, that comes back again to like the packaging peanuts and stuff, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah.
There's a special place at the tip, the déchetterie to put that, and I do often wonder where that thing goes.
Yes, I don't know if it just means it still goes to landfill, but it doesn't get mixed up with things they can recycle. I really don't know.
Hazardous chemicals and chemical containers, again, that comes back to like medical waste, isn't it? It's a similar thing you just can't get rid of.
On a similar note, I do know there's a movement for hairdressers to be able to recycle.
Oh, really?
Like a lot of the chemicals they use for bleaching and things like that, and perming.
God, there's so many people, you don't even think about that.
And hair, even. Yeah, so some hairdressers now will bundle it up and it gets collected by a special service, but it means it doesn't go into landfill.
Sometimes they use it for wig making and stuff, don't they?
I think that's to be very good quality hair then. I think cuttings, this is literally the cuttings off the floor. Be interesting to know what they do with it.
I'd like to know a lot of these things, I'd love to see the process.
Yeah.
Plastic toys or sporting goods, now we mentioned this earlier.
Yes.
Plastic toys have been making them since, 60s probably. Yep. I don't know if they were before
and
that.
They probably all still exist.
And they're probably still around. Again, this is why you need to be buying your kids toys, but then they just want computer games and everything, and all of that involves plastic.
Or what they've seen on the television.
Yeah.
Yeah, what their friends have got. So
I do think we've got to be tougher with our kids to make them realise that, because you'd think you'd be doing it in school anyway now, wouldn't you? That they'd be showing them the environmental issues around everything they buy, that they might think not to buy those sort of things.
I'm going
or to recycle them things.
Yeah. I'm going off on a tangent now, but it just occurred to me, and it'll fall out my head again otherwise. Flower pots.
Oh, the ones that you get your pot from the shop in. That
It annoys me that they're always in plastic flower pots. I have hundreds.
You occasionally get a small one in the cardboard, don't
ones,
you?
yeah. So that annoys me. And also, I've found out recently, dark plastics can't be recycled because the machine that picks out the plastics doesn't recognise black plastic.
Oh,
It can't. I don't know if it can't see it.
you do
I should have
occasionally
thought
see
about this before I said it.
You should have. You occasionally see pots in terracotta pots, flowers.
Yes.
But yeah, you usually have to pay a bit more money for them. And again, it's transport, isn't it? Foam egg cartons. There's obviously no excuse for that now because you can get the cardboard ones, can't you?
Yes. Yeah.
And a lot of the cardboard stuff that comes, we end up, and especially in the winter, ends up being our kindling on the fire as well. Wood was another one which I thought was quite interesting because I always just think of that as being something that you can recycle. But you was looking up, weren't you, about the wood and what woods were sustainable or...
Yeah, different. Yeah, I mean, I think we use wood, we recycle it because we have log burners.
Yeah.
So even if we've got tiny bits off cuts of wood, we will use them as kindling.
Yeah.
But some trees that are cut down are not as sustainable as others because
That's right.
what you want.
So what ones was it you said you?
I think it was very dark woods like ebony and mahogany, but it's also about what's being replanted. So if you're cutting one tree down but replanting 3, then that's going to be more sustainable than mass deforestation.
And
if you
preferably things that are made out of the wood that will then grow quickly.
Yes.
To be replaced.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just going back, black plastic is difficult for the NIR lasers to see, and therefore is generally not sorted for recycling. So it's something to do with the machine that looks out for plastic and recycles it. It can't see the black plastic.
So basically, the manufacturers need to look at different colour plastics if they're going to have to use plastic, and
absolutely,
yeah. Regarding the wood, obviously you get things made from bamboo now, and that would be fabrics as well as furniture and stuff. So that's a good one. Again,
because bamboo grows really quickly and can be easily harvested.
Yeah.
So it is made into fabric these days, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
I've got some bamboo socks, and they're so soft.
I've got one of my summer dresses which I absolutely love, that mustard one with the stripes in it. That's bamboo.
It still amazes me. Again, that's another thing. I'd love to see the process.
Yes, yeah.
Moving on, we got light bulbs, which I hadn't thought about other than because when we go to the supermarket, you've got the light bulb bin, you've got the batteries bin, and you've got the ink cartridges bin.
Yes.
Now, the light bulbs, I imagine they're not recyclable because of the element and everything, but you'd think the glass would just go in the glass bin, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Batteries, it's always a bit, what hell happens to batteries? Ink cartridges, I do know that they can be refilled, so whether that's what happens to them, I don't know.
Be interesting to find out, because that doesn't go in our normal recycling, but we can take them to...
That's right, yeah, we can't just bung them in our... I mean, I bet there's people that go to the Shettery just sneak a lot of stuff, that sort of stuff in the big bins, because just that's human nature. They don't always do what they're supposed to do. Yeah, light bulbs, and then after that, it just said yard waste and garden tools. So in other words, garden waste, isn't it, really? Because I think a lot of this is written for American people
Again,
to read.
we're lucky that our déchetterie, our sort of waste place in Lassay, you can take garden waste there. So, I mean, little stuff will go in my compost, but I mean, if I'm cutting down big branches, I'll take it there.
Yeah, well, you don't always have the space in your own compost, do you?
But they also, you can get free compost from there.
Yeah,
so
they take it there, and at the same
down.
time then you can pick compost up.
Which is very good.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's not expensive to buy, but it just makes sense to have it fresh because they've composted it.
What's in it, Jan? I mean, if you're buying compost from a garden centre, it won't always be sustainable because things like peat doesn't get reproduced quickly, so you're depleting the world's resources of peat.
Peat piles.
Yeah, and they use chemicals in it, so do you necessarily want those chemicals back into your soil if you're
No,
buying
it doesn't.
commercial?
I mean, we don't know for
compost?
sure, but what we just feel that we're doing the right thing by getting the compost from there, don't we? I mean, it's yeah. I mean, it's same as we know that we don't put any chemicals in our compost bins, and that it's good to use that, and it's good stuff. So, well, I think we've probably waffled on more. Or we could waffle on more, I should say, but we've waffled on enough. People have probably already gone asleep or turned off by now. So we'll leave it there. And thanks again for anybody that's making any comments. We can't say much more because it's gone on long enough again today. Hopefully we'll get to speak to some of you next week.
Yeah.
So we'll say goodbye for now. See you next week.
Bye bye.